It's tough on the eye when you're coming in and this crazy bright colors are thrown into your face.
There's a time and place to go big.
Yes.
And you can have a background level of fandom, but then you have the ability to ramp it up.
Older sports gear had often a better material. Even if it looks worn out, if you present it in a nice way on the wall, it can look really, really cool.
Welcome to Design Talk with David and Anna-Lena, the podcast that makes interior design approachable and fun.
Join me, David, who's new to interior design, and Anna-Lena, a design expert, and learn how to create attractive spaces that feel like home. Hi, everyone. It's David and Anna-Lena.
Hi.
In today's episode, we're exploring the fun and passionate world of interior design for sports fans. We'll dive into some of the common design mistakes we see sports fans make and identify specific types of sports merchandise that we think are best to avoid. Then we'll give you some actionable tips on how you can go big with your sports fandom, but in a stylish way that will wow your visitors. Without further ado, please enjoy our episode on sophisticated sports fandom. All right, so today we're talking about sports fandom and the design issues. And actually, we are doing a kind of crossover fandom thing here because you can see Anna-Lena's rocking the gear of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, yeah.
I was in grade school when the Blue Jays won 2 World Series back-to-back, so it's a very, very big deal. Probably the first team I was a big fan of, I guess I would say. And then St. Pauli, for those of you who don't know, is one of the local Hamburg soccer teams, or football teams, as the English call it. What we are talking about today is how we can have good design in a sports fandom context. What mistakes do people make when they express their fandom in their house, where you as a designer say, that could be better?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to point out we're not talking about kids' rooms. Kids' rooms are totally out of this whole discussion because I think kids should go crazy on their fandom. It's tough on the eye when you're coming in and this crazy bright colors are thrown into your face and all the little collective things. And so there are some things which are, from a design perspective, in my opinion, a no-no. Mm-hmm. And one of that would be, for example, this really crazy wall stickers. If you really want them, put them in your kids' room, but please don't put it in your living room. Even if it's just a black outline of a soccer player, even that. You're not a teenager anymore. You should buy your fan gear. I mean, we have like fandom stuff on, and I even wear the sweater sometimes like this. Even if the Blue Jays are not playing or we're not talking about these things, I still wear the sweater. Yeah. You should do that. I mean,
express, because it's part of you. It's something that matters to you, and you should express it. Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it's part of their identity. So what we're talking about is actually how you could bring all that stuff in, but make it look more nice and not as hard on the eye.
Okay, so we've kind of defined the problem here.
There are two more things that we should maybe cross off the list too. Okay. One would be any kind of DIY furniture made out of sports stuff.
Got it. Like hockey sticks, like a chair or table.
Chair made out of hockey sticks, a table made out of old baseball bats, stuff like that. Please don't do it. It's in 90% of the cases, it doesn't look good. And nobody is honest enough to tell you that.
But there could be places for it. Okay.
Yes.
So let's keep that in mind.
Kids' room.
But maybe in a
sports bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a small number of places where it really shines.
But not in your living room. And not in your sleeping room or your bathroom. Okay. Please don't do it. It's really, really often not looking good.
Okay, so that's one thing.
If you go onto the internet sites of the fan shops, I saw in the soccer fan shops very often these little dwarfs which have something in their arm that belongs to the team, but funny enough, every team has the same kind of style of these dwarfs. Mm-hmm. And if you collect them because it's your kind of hobby to collect these, then you should put them somewhere inside of a
collectibles case.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
And do that in a pretty one. Don't do it in like a cheap kind of, I have to put them somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let them stand around everywhere in your living room. They're collecting dust. They're most of the time very cheaply made, and they look like that. So that would be the no-nos for me. And we can start from there.
Okay, that's good. So we could say categorically these things should not be part of the design, except maybe in very specific ways, which you've already described. Okay, so let's talk about things you could do. There's like a time and place to go big.
Yes.
And you could have kind of a low, like a background level of fandom, but then you have the ability to ramp it up.
Of course, if you have the finals of any kind of sport, and you're inviting friends over to watch the game, bring out all the stuff you have, like put it everywhere. That's the moment where you should go big. Besides that, you can have in every room fandom. It's fine to have it. If it's part of your identity, you should have it also in your house, not just wear it, but you should have it in your house.
And that's a good general rule. I'm thinking about this now. I mean, your house should be your identity.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, okay.
But there are ways to make it look more pretty. So first of all, be careful, and this is a general rule, and I would probably say it nearly every episode, but be careful with the materials.
Okay.
If it's like this cheap plasticky kind of stuff, it will look cheap because it is like cheap plasticky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make that look pretty. But in every fan shop, you can find a lot of really good quality things. So for example, let's talk about coffee mugs, for example, right? You can have like the bright colored, standard looking coffee mug that is not pretty, right? Mm-hmm. But then nearly every fan shop, or every fan shop I looked in had this a bit more expensive looking kind of mugs where they didn't even use the colors of the team, because by the way, the colors are mostly very bright. And the colors might not fit what your house or your living room should look like.
Yeah.
If you bring in this bright blue, for example, that a lot of teams have, like Schalke or HSV, it's more difficult to incorporate that in your normal house style, right?
Okay.
But every team has their stuff without this bright color, where they concentrate more on the logo or like the writing, stuff like that. So you can have like this bright blue coffee mug, and then you have, for example, a silver mug, and then you have it in black outlines, and it looks very fancy and pretty, but it still says, this person is definitely a fan. You will recognize that from far, but it's not screaming in your face, there's this bright blue.
Which is actually, I think that's a kind of interesting, because I think as you're describing, I'm thinking that's classiness, actually, in a way.
Yeah.
Is when something doesn't hit you in the right away, but then over time you realize, there's a bigger thing going on.
You can be a big fan and can show that in a more subtle way.
Yeah.
A lot of fan shops have now this wooden stuff, so like a wooden box for fan collectibles, where they burnt into the wood the symbol of the team, which is pretty cool, I think. Like that would be a nice thing to have. And these kind of things you find a lot next to this very horrible shower curtains. But I have to say, some teams make it easier for you than others. For example, the scarf that you're wearing, St. Pauli, they are really going big in art, and they are really, really good in their corporate identity in general, and they make it really easy for you to dress up your home in a very nice way.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I never realized that, but it does make sense that the team executives, some of them are further ahead with these things and some of them are not, right? So, and that actually, while you were talking, there was something I was thinking of, because I was looking at the pictures up here, but I was realizing that sometimes black and white pictures can be a really good way.
That is a really good way.
Yeah.
Also, when we are at the picture area, frame your posters. It's immediately looking much more fancier when you have stuff framed.
Yeah.
And
It
you
looks
can
more
easily get cheap frames by shopping secondhand.
It just seems more intentional, right? If you put a frame there,
Yes,
it looks like I really want to do this instead of like I just kind of threw something up on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what also looks very fancy, put the jerseys in frames.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of techniques where you can fold it up in certain ways that it looks like the jersey is the picture, and then you frame the jersey. Or even if you have a lot of space on the wall, you can even frame the jersey as itself. And
interesting. Practically, it's easier to clean. It won't get dusty.
of course. And you present it in a very, very intentional way.
Yeah.
Is intentional way the right word?
Yeah.
Okay, intentional way.
Intentional.
Intentional way.
Intentional, yeah.
Yeah, so that is a possibility. Also, you can always play with showcasing the sports gear itself. If you are into a certain tennis player and you don't want to hang like tons of pictures of the tennis player, you can frame maybe 2 or 3 black and white pictures of your favorite tennis player in action. And then you can have old tennis racks hanging on the wall or something like that. That is a very pretty way to present it. Generally, when you have the possibility to buy old sports gear, the older sports gear had often a better material, and even if it looks worn out, if you present it in a nice way on the wall, it can look really, really cool. Yeah. I actually have a Pinterest board.
Yes. So especially for people that are listening, but even if you're seeing the video of this, Anna-Lena has done some prep work for everyone so that you can see some cool examples of this in action.
Yeah. For this episode, while I was researching, I was like, let's do a Pinterest board for everyone to check out. And there you can see for a lot of different sports, the different ways of presenting it on the wall. There was, for example, a really nice way to present old baseball gloves. So if you combine that with stuff like pictures from your favorite team, and as you said, black and white pictures are a good option to incorporate it better into the colors you already have in your living room, go for it. Like hang some pictures, frame some jerseys, hang some whatever kind of sport you're into, some of the gear itself on the wall. And there you go. You have a really nice room that definitely tells the story that you're a big fan of the sport and a big fan, especially on that team, but is not obnoxiously bright blue, bright green, bright yellow, or whatever.
You've talked a lot about the living room as a place you might have. So are there certain parts of the house that you think lend themselves more to showing off sports fandom than other places, or?
No, I think you can actually do that everywhere.
Okay.
You can go crazy in every room, but I think the living room is the most obvious one because that's where you cheer for your team, right?
Right.
You sit in front of the TV if you're not in the stadium, and that's why I would think that's the most obvious one.
Okay.
But it could be also that the other person that you're living with doesn't like the team. That is a possibility. So you might need to consider either to combine the both passions in one room, which is possible to do, or that you have a compromise on, okay, I want to put some fan gear somewhere, and then one person gets one room and the other person gets the other room.
Yeah. I mean, I could imagine if you have a partner, they might want it kind of quarantined in one room.
Yeah.
So if there's like some part of your house where you can say that's the part that, you know.
But try to avoid the man cave thing. I find it so sad that a lot of men go downstairs into the basement to enjoy their fandom stuff. Like, why not bringing it upstairs into your living room and make it in a nicer way and not...
Yeah.
I'm always talking about man and man cave. Of course, that also works the other way around. you can of course have a husband who doesn't like soccer and his wife is a former soccer player. All these things can happen, but
just the general principle of something matters a lot to somebody.
Yeah.
And then there are ways of incorporating it into the house where the identity of the people who live in that house is equally, shared, right? And then it could be whatever your passion is, like if it's music or if it's dance or if it's
of course.
Yeah. So that's the bigger principle at work here.
Yeah.
Although we were just talking about fandom today.
Yeah. Oh, I have one more
Go
tip.
ahead. Yeah.
If you are still uncertain what to do, like it really worth it to look into sports clothing stores. They sometimes have really amazing ideas on their wall because they have to bring all teams together often, right?
Yeah.
They are not specifically a sports clothing store and for one team. They often have more teams, and it's interesting sometimes to look at how they do it. Of course, not every sports clothing store is very creative in that part, but there are some creative stores where you're really standing in front of it. Oh, that's cool. I saw that they were ordering the balls in color in a way that at the end it made the picture of
the MLB logo. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So stuff like that, of course you don't have to bring the same idea home, but it's an inspiration for you that you can bring home maybe.
Yeah. Cool. Very interesting. All right. Well, that's it for today. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found today's episode valuable, you can subscribe to our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Also, please consider giving us a rating or leaving a review, as that helps other people find the podcast. You can find all our episodes and learn more about our work at designtalk.show. See you in the next episode.